Video 117, Ancient Past live stream of Misschrisca 2010, the fiery one with the purple hair. Greetings, my friends. This here is the ancient spirit tralaka, here flowing in spirit once again through the vocal cords of Groovy Ev for this video. Let us together go down this very long, mysterious, winding stream. Misschrisca was then the Tralaka planetary systems as a Draken humanoid, having 9 lives as such, standing at 8 foot 10 inches tall. Her eyes, a mid-tone laser green. They were larger than others around her, showing a definite thicker heritage of that Draco side of the Draco humanoids in her family. Now, the body having thicker scales here being shown, yet they were smooth to the touch. A light brown in color, the lower jawline a modest 3 inches in front of her face, considering here that she stood at 8 foot 10 inches, so it was not something that was very profound part of her features. Strangely enough, though, for that height of a Draco humanoid, she only had 1 row of teeth in her mouth, meaning 1 set. Uppers and lowers like the humanoids. Though be not fooled, these teeth were very thick and size appropriate for her size. Things like this in those 9 lives would bring her much popularity with both friends and within her career. It was in those first 3 lives she would be in a military which served the Tralaka systems of planets and moons. This area of space is normally quiet, so Misschrisca would, after the first full solar year of her training, she would enlist to do other things in the military settlements, along with the many ancient gray sectors of space, for there was quite a lot of touchy areas where the ancient tall grays like to try to manipulate things to their better and harm the economies. This here is where Misschrisca would spend most of her life and the next one, for this was a rather busy area of local space, being part of a military monitoring all the ships coming and going. This was a full-time job responsibilities, many times getting risky, as extremely fast and ancient gray fighters would come out of jump space near the cargo ships. Misschrisca was not particular in which she flew or where she flew or what she was flying at the time or where she was, but whether it was to engage areas of villains in space or being sent to a remote moon setting where she was very much involved with hand-to-hand combat. For her, it was a personal thing to hold that line in the sand with her fellow warriors. In the battles, to hold many variables of the ancient grays out of the peaceful sections of space which the Tralaka planetary systems, the beings within, always strive for, having a peaceful area of the living universe. Though it would be in her 5th life as a Draco humanoid on the Tralaka systems of planets and moons, in which she would be training in the local, modern, and the ancient ways of healing. She would later spend much time employed by a local of Tralaka who had been in the military himself, but enjoyed employing her because of her knowledge, not just from the military traveling, but her knowledge from her studies in healing medicines for the injured warriors. Now, it was not often a being on Tralaka who had been trained in the ancient forms of healing and modern ways both, both tertiary ways and others, that it was not often you would see one of these medical people with a full-length, custom-powered laser rifle strapped to her back while she is helping someone who was fallen or someone who has been taken down in battle, addressing the injuries. She was very common to see her with that custom full-length powered laser rifle strapped to her back. A rather unusual sight, yes it was, though it suited her very well, both for her body form and the personality she had, her stature she had in her life. For it was more times than not, she would be aiding in a shootout with enemies while striving at the same time to help the injured and to take the injured one way or another. Sometimes she had to have many other people help her carrying a being to the Medi flight craft. Now, one full section of that warrior backpack she always had on while on duty was filled with rows of recharged power packs for that rifle, while most of the remaining compartments there were for the emergency treatments for the warriors she was sent to recover and treat. Now, in the warm climate areas, Misschrisca would be found in military summer gear, in which she so much loved to wear, tacky shorts and t-shirt. This showed off on her upper right forearm tattoos from her training with the military for both sharpshooting, cooking, and healing. In Misschrisca's next 4 lives on the Tracera system of planets and moons, she would be spending her careers with the Alliance warriors for her understanding of aiding the healing of the warriors and citizens alike in different, somewhat local planetary systems. On her time off, she could be found many, many times in the cafeterias exchanging some rather, one would say, sharp words with the cooks on duty, which, as things usually go, this would in time strangely be where she would spend much of her retired years being one of those cooks, but only she was making sure that those spices were just right and those herbs were just right that were put in the food, because she always felt the food has to be tasting really great. We need to make the food that encourages the warriors to show up early, not scare them away like scared little animals. This was a very important thing for her, for she had spent much of her younger years out in the risky areas of space where she wouldn't have access to really good meals for some time. It was important to her. It was very, very tight to her life in that lifetime. Now, she would then go to spend 4 lifetimes as a humanoid, standing at 7 feet 1 inch in height, yet again in the Tracera systems of planets and moons. Her eyes, a misty light blue. Interesting here. Misty light blue, long black hair that reached down below her waist, a tan color of skin, and she was rather slim. Her parents, both of which had old school training in the ancient healing art field and modern fields, and they would aid to help her carve the career for their daughter, in which she would spend much time reading the projected visi screens of different nature surroundings from which different herbs and spices would be able to be harvested, spending her career working so many long hours at the capital city hospital. She enjoyed this very much, though. However, she also enjoyed times of working on these different ingredients of these herbs and spices, which she would make for herself and her friends. In time, this would grow to be a herbal spice shop of her own spice shop. Fascinating. Which would be open on the solar days when she was not at work at the hospital. Now, this would be for her in the next 3 lifetimes, in which she would be a snake humanoid, though only standing 4 foot 9 inches tall. How unique. Her body, much as a human humanoid, though a degree of shine in the sun when she walked outside. The snake scales fit tightly to her slim body frame. The individual scales, very small they were, flowing in between the scales, this manner of the seamless movement that was for her skin. The body under the scales emitted this clearish fluid which lubricated the areas between her small scales. Now, she was not really known for being one who sweated because of those fluids, which she and others like her toweled off every day once or twice. This was more of a odorless fluid, so it wasn't when she was having the oils on her skin from inside her that she started to stink or something. No, this was more of an odorless fluid, though unless, of course, she would be going out in the city with her friends or even a date, in which she would then choose which aroma she decided to have around her. In her bedroom was a half-moon formed table, many shelves, many different angled mirrors up from the back of rear of that table and sides. Each mirror had a lower shelf with different aroma candles, which she would light to breathe its influence and then decide variances, because under each one would be long but very narrow drawers inside, having different aromas and fluids in which she could then decide which one she wanted to blend with her. These vials that she would then take a little bit of this and a little bit of this out from, where normally she could buy at a 7-ounce size pouch. Now, normally she would only drink like a combination of 1 or 2 ounces, measured very strictly with the cup she used. But she would very carefully combine the different aromas to her just right liking. And look out, girls! You're not going to be besting me tonight with the airs around you. I got you tonight. And she was known to giggle quite a bit when she was meeting up with her friends. For her 3 lifetimes, she would work with an old healer. This old healer, also known for herbal drinks, some of which were very stiff in alcohol, and other natural fluids which were similar to alcohol. In the next 4 lifetimes, she would be that of a reptilian humanoid, standing at 8 foot 3 inches tall. Her lower jawline was narrowing a proud 6 inches outwards from her face. In those 4 lives, she would have a double row of teeth, which showed greatly when she smiled. Her body, though mostly humanoid, had a mid-green complexion. Interesting here how she changes from life to life, and as we go on, her next part of her life, she would be mystifying people with this. Her eyes are just greens and yellows, which upon mystified so many who would come close to see them clearly. Those 4 lives would be quite a change for her. Why? Because she had much knowledge about the healing and about healing. However, she operated a merchant trade, which traveled both in the Tracera systems of planets, which are primarily very peaceful, and other systems behind the more known Pleiadian systems of planets. It was not so much that her merchant goods were illegal, but that they could be bought for the right price